club cars and drag racing, I mentioned earlier about the Road Rebels. It was a racing club, and they bought that Roadster, and they never did get to run it for any number of reasons. In California, there were racing car clubs. The Rakers comes to mind. Ronnie Rapp was in the Rakers, and they ran the Top Fuel dragster
From Long Beach.
From Long Beach. PVTA was a club car. The Trotters in Ohio was a club car. They ran a B-gas dragster, and I know that because Gene and I ran the B-gas dragster. And these club activities were a spin-off, and you say a spin-off of what? Well, Wally Park started the NHRA as a club association. He wanted to get people in hot rods off the street. He didn't care if they went to the drag races or not, but his idea was to get them into car clubs and give out club cards when you help somebody with a flat tire and all the kinds of things that car clubs did in those days. So he was essentially a car club organization. He brought Dick Wells out from Nebraska to oversee the collection of car clubs that were starting to gather as members of the NHRA. And it kind of matriculated that these clubs started drag racing because they were now off the street. And so drag racing was in full swing long before Parks had anything to do with it. And the first championships in California were held at Pomona in '53. And Parks decided to get in on that act and sanction what he called the Top Eliminator Trophy. There was no Top Eliminator prior to that. You raced everybody that you raced in whatever class they classified you in, and then the fastest winners raced one another, and there was an eventual event winner, but it was not called Top Eliminator. And often a coupe would win, or a motorcycle, most likely a motorcycle. So this 1953 event, it's held at Pomona. They wanted it to be recognized as a record-setting meet. So they contacted the AMA because the motorcycles were about the fastest thing out there at the time. And the AMA said, well, we'll sanction the event for the motorcycles, but here's how we perceive records to be attained. You have to have a measured quarter mile, a surveyed quarter mile, and you have to have the speed traps on 66 feet on either side of the finish line. Prior to that, there was however they measured the speed, I have no idea, but they did. But that's what formulated the drag strip as we knew it until they went to 1,000 feet, or until they pulled the clocks inside the quarter mile. That's what formed the original configuration. And Parks offered this trophy for Top Eliminator, and that's what he kind of invented his own slot in the drag races and saw that this kind of stuff was happening and invented what's called the safety safari, which was to go around the country and 4 guys, Chick Cannon, Bud Coons, Eric Rickman, and I can't remember the 4th guy's name. They went off with a trailer and a Dodge station wagon from place to place, and they made connections with car clubs in the areas. Wichita, Estabrook, Hammond, Louisiana, there was one in Mississippi, the Memphis Routers in Tennessee, guys in Chicago, I don't remember the names of the clubs, but that's how they established the NHRA and the solidification of the facility, what a racetrack, what a drag strip should be. And that's how it got rolling. And they had Hot Rod magazine. So anything that they put in the magazine, well, it was gospel. You know, that's really how the formative years of drag racing were. And then somebody got killed at Estabrook in Louisiana. Was a belly tanker that belonged to the guys in Houston. It's called the Motor Rico Special, and Foyt had driven it at one point. And this was a rear-engine flathead belly tank. And that car spun out and hit a woman who was sitting on the front of a car and killed her. And it was a nitro car. And somebody simultaneously got killed out here. I don't know where, I don't remember where it was. And Mickey says, Mickey Thompson at a strip operators meet said, we need to ban this fuel because it's killing everybody. And of course Hart went along with it, and Parks went along with it, and that's how the fuel ban was created. But they didn't consult the key issue, and that was the guys who were racing. They weren't interested in banning fuel. They wanted to keep running fuel.
Fuel being nitromethane.
Nitromethane, anything other than gasoline. I mean, alcohol, nitro, Marbane, anything that you wanted to run that wasn't gasoline, because they gas checked you. Dean Hill was his official NHRA gas checker, and he would check that fuel, and if it had anything in it, including water, you were out, you lost. So gasoline was gasoline, and anything else was fuel, including, like Ack Miller had a couple of cars with propane. That was fuel rather than gasoline. And so when they banned fuel, just about everybody ignored it except that pile of guys that were in on the original meeting, which was Lyons, Santa Ana, and NHRA people, and their minions, what I call the Seven Dwarfs, the 7 division directors. They spread the word that there was no more fuel. And most of the places, like when we raced at Laplace, we ran fuel until they came to town for a points meet. Then we ran gas, and then back to fuel. Same with Biloxi, Mobile, Chester, South Carolina, where Garlett's moved the record up to 828 and 176 miles an hour, something like that. When he opened up everybody's eyes with that particular run. And the ATAA formed.
And what is ATAA?
It was a Chicago-based drag racing operation that held the World Series of drag racing.
So a sanctioning body.
It was a sanctioning body, but it was local. And they got some coverage in things like Routing and Restyling, which was an Eastern magazine, and Popular Mechanics, things like places like that, and magazines like that in the East that didn't see the need to change from fuel to gasoline. But Parks made a big issue out of it, and it perpetuated itself until the UDRA came along.
And the UDRA?
The UDRA was the United Drag Racers Association. It was a bunch of top fuel guys and a few little guys. And what happened was, Cruzy corrected me on the ban the jets thing. He said that didn't start the UDRA. The UDRA was about the guy that was running Lions after Mickey quit and before Hart was hired. UDRA wanted NHRA to pay money, they wanted to run fuel, and they wanted a driver's licensing program because people like Petrie and Pennington and guys like that were getting killed and at Long Beach and other places. And so they wanted a driver's license program, meaning you had to qualify to get a license and do that whole drill to try and prevent some of the incidences they were having. because in the 60s we killed a lot of guys. And it was usually lack of experience that got them. I mean, there were some guys that were certainly capable where the machinery got them, like Leonard Harris. That was a machinery accident, not so much a driver accident. But guys hitting the fence, Joe Jackson comes to mind. Wendersky comes to mind. Wendersky was a crazy man. He was driven by the G-forces, I think, that he enjoyed when he stood on the gas. But he had no control of the car. I mean, he wrecked it 3 or 4 times, and finally turned it over and killed himself down at Ramona. So the fuel situation in Southern California was such that other tracks ran fuel. San Gabriel, San Fernando, Riverside, Lyons and Santa Ana, the 2 hardcore racetracks, they shifted to gas. And that went on for quite a while, until 1963. So